Hello and welcome to Hull Seahawks Behind the Curtain, episode 8. We've got a very special guest joining us here for this week's podcast. We've got Hull Seahawks' latest signing, Finlay Ulrick. Uh, I'm Connor Lynn. I'm going to be joined by my regular co-host, Martin Cattle, and Matty Davis, head coach of the Hull Seahawks, is joining us also. Well, welcome, fellas. Thanks for joining us once again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cheers for having us, lads. Cheers for having us. Go on,
can't
Fel.
wait for this one.
I
Yeah.
know, Martin, you've been buzzing for this one all even since sort of late last season. You've been waiting for this day, Martin.
I
Um,
have, yeah.
we're here to talk about, of course, a whole host of things regarding Finney's career, the move back to the Seahawks, and that's where we're going to start. And it is about that move, the full-time contract with the Hull Seahawks. It's what fans are talking about. They're all so excited to see the news break, albeit early last week. Um, how did that come about, Finn? And sort of was it you pushing for it? I know Matty's been sort of clambering to get you all season. Other fans just want to hear your thoughts on being back up.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just like to say, I'm buzzing to get going. It's great to obviously be playing back in Hull, and really looking forward to it. But yeah, all sort of came about. Obviously last year played a few games for Hull, and really enjoyed it. Just playing more minutes in different situations, that kind of thing. And yeah, what drew me to Hull as well. Obviously, Matty's a great guy. We've got a good relationship. I hope he'd say the same. Uh, but yeah, no, I mean the atmosphere around the club and obviously everything that Matty and Joe are doing is just brilliant, and I'm just very very honoured to be a part of it for next season.
Of course, Matty, we've had conversations, throughout the season last year. And as soon as we had Finn on the ice, it was an instant thought of, we want more of this. We need to get this guy on our roster next year.
Yeah. I think Finn was probably the most spoke about person last year in terms of who we, spoke about every interview and with Cal. And yeah, it was one of them. We just, we tried our best to get Finn. I mean, to be honest, we were going back. I tried to get Finn during the summer. I've like Finn said that we've been pretty good mates and close for a number of years now. He's been down to the gym, in the summers, and we've kept in contact a lot. And I've always really liked Finn as a kid, and I tried to sign him for last season. I'd have loved to get him. Obviously, he was with Manchester and wanted to play in the Elite League, which I totally understand. But as the season sort of went on, and we had more conversations, and ice time was probably limited for Finn. It was more than willing to come and help me out as well, and also the club, and he cares about the club, and I think he wants to see us do well. But yeah, every time he came, I mean, everyone knew straight away how he was sort of it's interesting because obviously I think when you play with elite league clubs and you get these two ways, and I'm sure we'll talk about more of that in depth, but I think just from my experience of doing a similar thing, my first year after the elite league, when I ended up playing in Telford, I think, the level just, from going from that level down to that level, it's I'm not saying it's a lot easier, but it's just a different style of game. It's a lot
Do you,
slower.
do you feel more
Um,
free to do what you want to do on the ice? You're a bit more in control.
I don't know about. I mean, yeah, yes, but I think that depends on the coach and the style of play. But what I would say is, in general, it's just slower. It's less intense, and I feel like, and Finn will probably agree with this, but if you're a good skater in this league, you can really do some damage. And I think Finn's, one of Finn's best attributes is his skating. And when he did come down with us, even in training, you could see just a difference in how he moved. And being in that league and around them players on a daily basis, he'll tell you like his skating there would have just been one of just all of the same. But you have to skate so well in that league, and the higher up you go in the leagues, skating is extremely important. And the higher levels you do go, that is evident that if you don't skate well, you will not make that level. So when Finn did come and play with us in training and in games, you just saw a real difference in how he moved. And generally just a great lad who was just willing to do anything. He was more than willing to play anywhere I wanted him to, and everywhere he played, he fit in perfect. And all the lads love him. A lot of them know him anyway, but having him in sort of as many times as we did, I think there was sort of just pleading with him on the bus to just please stay with us. And unfortunately, sometimes he couldn't, and that's how it works. But no, yeah, really, really, really happy to have Finn. Again, what I just said, more than anything, it's just having Finn as a person. He's just someone that aligns with how I see things being done, and yeah, it's brilliant news for the club. It makes us a real different opposition for people next year in terms of the depth that we now have in our team, which we didn't have last year. Is evident to see that we have depth now. And there's going to be, look, even within our team, there's going to be a fight for spots, which is what I want. And I wanted that, from day one. Obviously, we couldn't have that last year. We spoke about that, Connor, but, now we really do have that, and it's going to be interesting. And to see the level that lads can play up to really make themselves, the top players on our team.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Finn, the next question's for you again, obviously. What made you get into hockey? How did it all come about? What is it about hockey that you love so much?
So it started way back when I was about 3 years old, I think. Neither of my parents watched hockey, or I think my mum might have been to one game or something like that. But they didn't go regularly, so it wasn't like a family thing. But it was just a Sunday afternoon when I was young, 3 years old, as I said, and it was raining, and parents didn't know what to do with me, so they thought, "Oh, we'll go for a skate. We'll go down the ice rink and go on the public session." And then went on. She was actually talking about this story yesterday. She came on with me and was like holding on to the side and like holding my hand, and then she said that I just took off and went off and I could skate. So it all sort of started from there, and then obviously loved it and went back. And then the coach of the juniors in Hull at the time was Jonker. And he said to my mum, "Has he ever tried ice hockey?" And she said, "No, nothing." And went down to, I guess, I learned to play or whatever that was in Hull, and went from there. But yeah, I mean, what I love about hockey is how fast paced it is. It's not like football where you can take rests during play. Obviously, I mean, I know you change on and off, but I just love the intensity of it all. And yeah, and it's taken me to various places around the world. Met so many people, so many great people. So yeah.
With you getting into obviously the hockey at a young age through skating, and then learning to play the game, and then of course getting into the Kingston Sharks sort of junior system, and then obviously you moved to Sheffield, I think when he was about 14, 15, to sort of maybe go to move for their junior ranks. Was there any other sports involved, or was it once you tried hockey, that was it, you knew you wanted to sort of progress and get as far as you could on the ice?
Yeah, well, no, to be honest, it wasn't just hockey. Growing up, I sort of did a bit of everything. Obviously played football for a bit up until I was about 12. And then through school, played rugby, cricket, bit of swimming. But yeah, they were, and actually a bit of tennis as well. But it did get to a point where I think when I was about 13, 14, when I thought, right, well, I can't be doing all of these. I've got to, focus on one of them. And obviously took a liking to hockey, and that was the one that I thought I could progress the most in, and it's taken me this far so far. So I'm pretty happy with it.
No, it obviously has certainly taken you to the heights of the the elite league in this country, but it also got you what I'm sure was a great experience in your life, and that was, the ability to spend 3 years in the US at Norfolk School, which, for those who aren't aware, is a it's a school it's the New York area, isn't it? That has a rich history of hockey.
Yeah, so it's upstate New York. When people say New York, they think of obviously the
Yeah.
city, but it's actually about 6 hours from there, up towards the Canadian border. In obviously a real nice place Lake Placid. But yeah, no, my experience there was unbelievable. It's something that I'll obviously take with me forever. Just the place and the people that I met, the teammates and all that kind of thing. I think it was just so different for me to playing in England, because obviously in England you train twice a week and go play on a weekend, and then you all go your separate ways and have your own lives. But being there, you went to school with the guys you were playing with, you'd live in the dorms with them, and it was just a really cool experience that I'll remember forever. So,
How does an experience like that come about?
well, I think obviously as I got older, and I thought, right, well, this I could potentially make a career out of this. It was always sort of in the back of my mind, how do I progress myself more to give me the best chance to do what I want to do with the sport. And that, I guess, started when I was playing in Hull in the junior system. And then that's why I made the move to Sheffield. It was purely just sort of training was the reason. I thought obviously Sheffield trained a bit more, I think, and a few guys that I'd played with on like the England junior teams played there, and people that I know. So yeah, was there, and then I thought, right, well, what's the next step that's gonna take me there? And I've heard of a couple of guys before that had went over to play in Canada and stuff like that. So I think it was the summer when I was about 15, and just had a look around a load of schools, and there are a couple of English guys that played there before, Matt Headland and people like that. I don't know if you know him, but he played there, so that was the link. And then went and had a look around and fell in love with it. So and then made the decision to move.
That experience, of course, not necessarily sort of the education side of things, they're going to school the players, but the fact of being in a close knit unit, training day in day out with each other, and then of course, I'm sure the ice time there was considerably more, in terms of game time as well, compared to what it was like in the junior leagues over here. Did that sort of, do you feel like set you up well to be sort of a professional ice hockey player? That having that experience of being in a unit, training 5 nights a week, and sort of being able to really fine tune every detail of your game.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, before that, I mean, I was young, but I remember obviously the first thing what hit me when I was there was sort of the gym and how much they put a focus on, obviously not just the on ice but the off ice as well. And that's sort of where I learned what it takes to obviously get the most out of yourself, and I guess be a professional, or be as professional as you can be, with the training and everything on ice and off ice. It was intense, and it was, at the end of every day, you're tired, you train in the morning, then go to school until 5-6 o'clock, and then you're up the next day doing the same thing and going away on weekends. But it was it did set me up well, I think, and learned a lot of things there.
So you obviously returned to the UK, and then you signed with Manchester Storm, and then the last time you played in the UK was at the age of 16, and then to come back at 19 and go straight into the league. What was a jump like to jump up to the Elite League?
Yeah, I think obviously from playing in America, I played with some really good players and against some really, really good teams, people that have gone on to, play in the NHL or be drafted or this kind of thing, or playing really high level college. So I think skill wise, it wasn't as big of a jump as I thought, but it was definitely obviously the physicality and the experience that these guys have in the Elite League. It was definitely a jump up. Just going into the corner with guys and just sort of feeling the strength of them compared to, obviously I was playing against people my own age, to playing against experienced, veterans of the league. but it was definitely a big jump. Yeah.
So, in terms of those years at Manchester, then, 4 years, of course, the early two were sort of COVID impacted, weren't they? Particularly, I think it was year two, it'll be in the Elite Series, wasn't it? Sort of the tournament with the draft, etc. Um, how do you feel like you've developed as a player over those 4 years? Of course, it's a long time in a career, that isn't it? Especially going in so young and at the age of 19, and instantly getting minutes. Of course, it may have been third, fourth line minutes, but it's still 46 games in the elite league. As a 19-year-old, instantly, you're making an impact. And how has that developed you as a player?
Well, I think it's developed me greatly. Obviously playing with these guys who have been there and done it, and being around them in the changing room and everything like that. It was, a really good experience, and just sort of trying to be a sponge around them as much as I could, and just taking these things, just sort of little things, around the thing, and they obviously they helped guide me through the process of becoming a sort of more rounded professional. Obviously, yeah, my years in Manchester, I'm extremely grateful for. They gave me a chance to play professional for the first time. But yeah, no, I think I developed a lot. As I said earlier about the strength and that kind of thing, and just sort of little habits and knowing how to play the game at a higher level. Yeah, that's it.
And Matty, so of course Finn's come back from Northwood. He's playing in Manchester Elite League. Is that when you sort of got to know the name Finlay Ulrick? Did you know him sort of before he went away to the US, or was he instantly on your radar when he came back and he was in Manchester?
No, I knew I knew who he was. Obviously, kid from Hull, and that age. I think maybe what Stubbs' year, maybe Finn Stubbs, and but
He's a couple of years old, I think. Maybe
yeah,
one or 2 years. Yeah.
Bonner's a couple of years older as well, and he so yeah, but yeah, I obviously knew who he was, and I knew he'd gone out there, and obviously like you'd sometimes obviously in the summer you'd come back, maybe he'd skate. If we had ice back then, it'll have been sort of coming to the end of Stingrays days then probably, or just starting Pirates potentially. So yeah, like every now and then we'd get him. He'd be in on a summer skate, and you'd see him, and you just hear about how he's getting on, or you know just little bits and bobs, and obviously you know when they're coming back, then you hear about it, and where they're gonna go, and stuff like that. And it's just one of them that you just sort of keep. At that point I was just playing, so
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's
yeah.
Even though you were still playing, were you keeping sort of tabs on these young players, from the city?
Yeah, yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, because at the end of the day, like obviously, I'd come back to Hull, and I was playing in Hull. I was going to finish my career in Hull, obviously, before all the COVID stuff. But and even though I didn't have a pull on any signings or like that, it's at that point it was probably Pirates times. I used to speak to Huey, and how many Brits do we know, like different young Brits. This just conversations really, and you're keeping your eyes on who's around and how do we make ourselves better, etc. So, yeah, and obviously, Finn got in touch with me actually about the gym, when he did come back, and that's where we really sort of started to, sort of build a proper relationship, and we used to talk a lot more then, and sort of stay in contact with what he was doing. I helped him out with his training, and yeah, and that's sort of how it went. And then yeah, since then we kept in contact, and as soon as I, like I've said to you for a few of them, as soon as I knew this was happening, it was I had a pot of players that I had in my mind that I could potentially wanted to get, etc. So yeah, he was part of that, and managed to now get him second year, so good stuff.
With your sort of year in Leeds, Mike, did you get to play with Finn at all? So I know Finn, you played 3 games for Leeds Knights in that season, didn't you? Sort of a couple of games on a sort of a two-way. Did you manage to get on the ice altogether?
Yeah, well, I think the game I don't know if I played the game you played actually, Finn. Was I don't know if I did. I can't even remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure to be fair. I played
I
one in
think
Sheffield and one at home, I think.
that's right. Yeah. So the game in Sheffield I played.
Yeah.
But then I don't know if I played the one at home, but yeah. So that was sort of a little bit part of me as well, a little bit in a sense. Obviously, it was Bale's, but and that connection with we had Harry Gulliver and stuff like that. But I'd spoke to at that time it was Dave Whistle on it, so spoke to Dave and said, yeah, he's a good lad, good player. And yeah, he came in and obviously we had a couple of games and yeah, and then obviously here we are now, sort of a year and a bit later, with the Seahawks.
Of course, and obviously you mentioned, you were talking at the gym and throughout the training, you've known each other, for a while. But in terms of that chance to bring Finlay to the Seahawks, Matty, of course, you said you tried last year and it just wasn't possible with a contract situation side of things. But was it in any way tempting, Finn? Were you pushing for it at all, or were you very much committed to? I've got the 1 year left in Manchester. I want to spend as much time on the ice as I can in Manchester at that time. Or was the Seahawks something pushing more and more into your mind that you wanted to sort of look for more ice time away from sort of the storm shelter?
Are we talking about last summer?
Yeah. So yeah, about a year ago now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, to be honest, I didn't. I mean, I considered it, but it wasn't sort of an option that I saw me going through with, purely because of the conversations that I'd had in Manchester, and the opportunities that was discussed in that conversation, would have been not silly to turn down, but it was hard to turn down. So
yeah.
I think obviously this year in Manchester, I got some opportunities. But yeah, it's the thought of coming to Seahawks last season wasn't too much on the mind, but obviously this summer it was, and now we're here.
So is that, I'm assuming, less contract situation and more the fact that things didn't go the way you wanted to in Manchester last year? Was it a case of not broken promises, but you were hoping to get a little bit more out sort of your final year of that contract in the Elite League?
Yeah, I mean it was a little bit of both. Obviously it's tough in the Elite League. It's obviously a professional sport. It's going to be tough, and I think obviously I wasn't playing my best, which then you don't get the minutes, or you might get a little chance and you don't get that, you don't perform that one chance, and it hurts your chances of playing, and I'm obviously understand that, and I understood obviously Matt Ginn's reasons for it and stuff like that. Then obviously towards the end of the year, started playing quite a bit for them when they needed me on the back end, which was great. Playing full minutes and quite a few games, which I really enjoyed. But
So I was going to come on to that a little bit later, but it seems like a natural point to talk about it now. Actually, about that versatility and playing, sort of being almost forced to play D out of necessity, both in Manchester, but also for a few games for the Seahawks last year as well. At times where you were with Hull and you only have 3D available at some games. Is that something that had ever been part of your game before, or was it something that just came about in the last sort of 12 months? Is it something that you want to continue building upon, making yourself that two-way player essentially, or is it something that was something, well, you were happy to do it at the time, but you want to just be the forward, you want to be creating chances, scoring goals, getting assists, making an impact at that end?
yeah, well, I think when I was younger, when I was playing in Hull, I was playing D then, purely because we had a bit of a shortage on the back end, a little similar with Manchester, but I ended up playing there, and then moved to Sheffield, was played forward all my time in America, and then obviously for the first 3 years in Manchester, just a pure forward. But I had a conversation with a couple of good like friends on the team, and when I wasn't getting the minutes that I wanted, and was just saying, like, I used to play D, just joking around, and then he was like, "Oh, why don't you go speak to Ginner and just sort of so he knows, and if he ever needs you, then he can use you." So I went and spoke to Ginner and just said, "Look, I know I used to play D when I was about 14. I know it's a completely different level to the elite league, but if if you ever need me, then yeah, you'd be more than welcome to use me." And then yeah, he called me up and got that chance to play D. But yeah, if I want it to be sort of something that I go forward with, I do really enjoy playing D, but obviously enjoy scoring goals and making plays more. But it's yeah, I think obviously at the elite league level, I think I'm probably more effective as a D. But I do think I've got a lot to give up front as well. So yeah.
We certainly saw that last year, of course, 15 points in your 14 games for the Seahawks. Certainly do have an impact in this division as a forward. Matty, I wrote a bit of a piece this week actually that said, it's an asset to Finn's game that he can play at both ends of the ice. But is that something that you see as an asset, but want to keep in the back pocket? Or is it something you might utilise more sort of freely throughout the season using Finn as a D? Or is he here as on the Seahawks as a forward and a forward only in your eyes?
He's at the Seahawks to be a forward, no doubt. I've in my mind right now he's not in the plans to be a D man. But again with Finn, you get that opportunity that if something was to happen, then I know I can put him there. Even towards the end of the year when we was obviously fighting for playoffs and trying to get as much out of them last games as possible, we had a few games there where I probably went with one D, put Deck on the ice, and then just went with my four best forwards, and at times it worked. We had some decent face-offs, and Finn being back there gives you that his skating ability and his sort of IQ on the puck. But yeah, I mean, look, Finn in my mind is someone that, and I've said this to him, but I want him to come in here and really make his mark as a top six forward in this league. Look, this league, this league's getting a lot better, and it's only going to get better now. And we're seeing some really good players come into the league, and it's not what it was a couple of years ago. It's a real league with 3 imports now. It only gets better, and I think for me, it's a case of Finn's still young. He's actually although he's had he's been in the US, he's been with Elite League club. He's never really settled his spot yet, and that's often that could be looked at as 2 ways. It's great that he's got versatility, but also maybe he hasn't put his stamp on where he is yet, and I'd like him to really do that this year. I want him to improve as a player, improve on being. Last year we saw the best of Finn at times, but we also saw in games where I think just being out of not necessarily the touch, but being out of the constant reliability to be a point guy, and that is sort of what you see with guys like Kieran Brown, and I bring him up a lot, but it's that sort of young kid who's literally taking a team on his back, winning games on his own, and his job is to make goals and score goals. And there's other players like that in this league, and I want Finn to be that. And at times we saw last year where we had some big games and big moments where we needed some someone to make something happen. And Finn did that for us in a couple of games, and obviously we saw the winner in overtime, and we saw some big moments away from home, and they're huge moments. And I think for me, that's what I want him to do on a regular basis, because there was some games where he'll admit maybe he didn't have the impact he wanted. He had plenty. The thing with Finn is always going to get chances because he skates so well and he works so hard. So he'll always get opportunities and chances. I just want him to really clean up on his sort of end product and productivity around the net, making plays, making sure that pass at the last time is perfect, or that shot's right. And they're the little things that I think personally I can help him with. You know, being at the end of the day, I'm here to be his coach. And I've got to, you know, I'm also trying to improve as well. And I'm trying to make myself a better coach. And I think sort of reading and listening to different people, and the way that they do it, you know, I've got to bring what I'm good at in terms of what do I know, what's my experience. And my experience was literally making goals, scoring goals, and being a player that was relied on to be that guy. So if I can help Finn with anything, it is that. And I want him to really thrive in that position and make it his own. You know, I've got no doubt that Finn can get back to the Elite League if that's what he wants to do. And this is something where he knows this, but I've got his back in that sense, and I want him to work on trying to get back to that pathway. But at the end of the day, he's got to make the most of his time as a player, just in general. And it's all well and good trying to stay there and make that jump. But at the end of the day, you'll only have one career, and I know too well how it ends very quickly. You know, at 33, I'm done, and you know, it's tough. It's one of them where you think, you know, I had a long career. Of course, I started really young, but you know, I could have done so much more. You know, and that's what I've got to live with. But I think Finn is in this time now where he's coming into his peak, and you know, when I look back now, I don't look back and think, oh, I should have played in the Elite League more. I just honestly look back and think, I wish I won more, because they're the things that I remember. I don't think, oh, you know, I had a great game in the Elite League, you know, 7 years ago. I look back honestly and I think, you know, we won all that with the Pirates. That was unreal. You know, I look back and think we got to the playoffs with the Stingrays when we shouldn't have. It was like against the Steelers, and it was our big cup final sort of thing. You know, I look back and think, you know, I won with Telford again in this league, EPL. They're the big moments that I remember. I don't remember, you know, Elite League necessarily. So, and it's really hard. And this has been the whole. I'm blabbering on again, obviously, but this has been the whole conversation with me and Finn this summer, and it's sort of trying to get sort of Finn to understand that I understand where he is. I know what he wants to do. I get it completely that you want to play at the highest level that as you can, but it's trying to. It's almost like it's like a dad trying to tell the kid, look, you're only young once. School's the best time of your life. You hear it all the time, don't you? But when you're a kid, you're just like, whatever, dad, shut up. I'm just doing this. But honestly, like, you know, at the end of the day, I really do really like Finn, and I want him to get as much out of this as he can. And honestly, this is the right place for him. I just know that for a fact. And I know that he can really flourish this year in this role and what we're going to use him as. And no matter what happens in terms if he goes Elite League or he stays in this league, you know, I think, again, if he can help us in the next, let's just say 2-3 years, who knows, get to winning the leagues and playoffs, he'll remember that for the rest of his life. I can promise you that. And that's, you know, no matter if it is the second league, first league, or any league, you'll remember that forever. So yeah, that's my aim for Finn and sort of what we've talked about. And that was the whole thing of trying to get him here. And it's been a long process getting it done with him. But it's difficult. It's not an easy decision to do. And there's obviously a lot of things going on in the background that we've had to sort of, you know, navigate as well. So yeah, this deal is a really big moment for us both, and it's took a bit of time to get there, but we've really sort of worked hard on it. And I think for me, this should be really, really exciting for the fans to have Finn playing every single game for us, because we're going to see the best of Finn this year. I can tell you that.
Are you excited to get in front of the whole fans again, Finn? Of course, you know played I think most of your games last year for Seahawks on the road. I think more often than not, anyway. But obviously, those home fans, they absolutely love seeing you on the ice. They know you're a local lad, and of course, what Matty's done this year, he's built such a core of local sort of, cult heroes essentially that the players, fans just want to get behind. Is that something that excites you about, the season ahead?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the games that I did play in Hull was, the fans were brilliant. I loved it. Obviously, especially it was a lot better when we won, but it was, the fans are great, and there's always been a passion for hockey in Hull. We know that with the Stingrays. When I was growing up, I used to go watch them a bit, and it was always, packed house, and I remember it being really exciting times. But yeah, I am really looking forward to getting back and playing in front of the home fans, and as you said, with people who have all grown up here as well. So I think it definitely means more to us, and to have that core group of Hull lads. I think we can definitely do something special here this year. So
No, I think maybe other than Solway, I think I think we might even be more than them. We must have, I'd say, one of the most locally based teams, I think, in this division. I can't think of any rosters that have many more players that have grown up within 10, 20 miles of the rink. Is that something that excites you, Martin? Of course, we'll be up on there on the gantry, and of course, there's so many homegrown talents. And we know from the moment you saw Finn on the ice, I saw you as a relatively new fan last year, and you could see the talent that Finn had. You were asking Matty every week, when's this guy signing? And we said at the start of this podcast, this is the one you've been waiting for. How excited are you to see it all go on?
Yeah, no, I'm genuinely excited about it. I think he's a fantastic player, and I remember going up to the gantry and turning around to you and saying, "No, is Finn playing tonight?" I remember saying that all the time. And like, well, he ain't tonight. I was like, "Oh, right, okay, fair enough." But like me being a bit of a novice, obviously that's great for a hockey podcast right now. But and having been my first year and doing commentary and stuff, you could just tell the difference. You know what I mean? It was sort of like, even for me being relatively new at it all, you could see the difference in the skating, like Matty touches on quite a lot and stuff. And it was just a joy to watch, you know what I mean? And like I say, yeah, I was saying to Matty, and I was also saying to you each week, come on, when are we announcing this? It needs to be done. And I'm just buzzing it's over the line, and we get to see him in full next season.
No, certainly. So we'll touch on something Martin's alluded to then, and it was about the weeks where Martin had come up and natter at me, is Finn playing? And I say, unfortunately not, he's with Manchester today, Finn. How difficult is it to be a player on a two-way? Sort of, your contract, well, what is with Manchester? That's the club that, you are signed to play for the season. Of course, you've got a deal in place to play with Hull, when and as required. Is it difficult not knowing sort of your role each week? We know, and I'll mention this in a moment. I know Matty was he didn't want me to talk about this one, but it can all change in an instant. How difficult is it to deal with as a player?
I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't say it's difficult. I mean, because being on a two-way, you do sort of get the best of both worlds, like in the situation that I was in last year. Obviously, when I wasn't playing with Manchester, I'd be getting minutes in Hull, and when I wasn't in Hull, meant that I would be actually playing in Manchester. That's just sort of like the not knowing what you're going to be doing at the weekend. It was pretty well, not set in stone, but you knew fairly early on in the week. Because obviously, I'd trained during the week with Manchester.
Yeah.
And you knew if guys were injured or that kind of thing, or they were thinking of doing something different. So, I mean, I guess the only time it was a bit of a, not a shock, but maybe you could call it difficult or something like that. Was obviously when I'd play for Hull on a Saturday or Manchester on a Saturday, and then it'd switch. And then obviously you have to make the travel and stuff. But I wouldn't call it difficult. It was just part of it, and it was just the way it went, and it was I enjoyed it.
Is it difficult to factor in as a coach, Matty, at all? Finn seems to take a breeze as a player. As a coach, any more issues that it causes you?
No, not no. It literally only makes it better, to be honest. I mean, no, do you know what? I'll be honest. I think last year it didn't, but I think this year it probably would a little bit more. I think with what we have this year in terms of lineup, I've sort of accounted for it in terms of what we have as a lineup, and there will be players that do get injured or do come out of the lineup, and other players can go in. But look, last year it was a case of if Finn came, we had a lot better top six, and when Finn didn't, we didn't. So it only helped me. I was never going to be like, no, Finn, stay there. We was all just like, yes, come, Finn, come, quick, locking him up. So no, it was it was easy, and like I say, this year it's a lot better for me, obviously, with it settled, and I can, I've already got lines outlined and stuff like that, so it makes it a lot of a better planning and situation for pre-season, how we go forward. It's this year's so much less stressful in that area. The team's signed now, it's done, and now it's about building and working towards pre-season and getting everyone as fit as possible and ready to fly into it hard.
No, certainly. So, of course, I'm sure. See, this has been a deal that's been done for a while, and of course, the club, as every club does, they sort of tease these throughout the summer, don't they, to keep us all interested. But is it been something that you've been sort of so happy to see throughout the summer, Finn? I'm sure you've seen your name popping up on the comments every signing. Please be Finn or something like that. There's these people who've been desperate to have you back. Now that it's announced, you've got that, maybe a little bit of a weight off your shoulders. Are you just excited to get stuck into pre-season now?
Yeah, I mean, all the discussions have been had, with the contracts and various situations that have happened. I'm just buzzing to get going, get on the ice, and get playing games. Obviously, in this sport, the summer's a long time, and it's a bit too long. I'd like to obviously just get back into it and get playing, and obviously the team that Matty's built it looks unreal, and I can't wait to get on the ice with the boys and just get playing, win some games.
Certainly.
Are you looking for? Oh, go on, Connor. Finish
I
off.
was just going to say, certainly, so getting on the ice, that's what it's all going to be about, isn't it? And Martin, of course, we've been sort of having discussions about, what these lines are going to look like, and there's a lot of big name forwards in there, and we don't know who Finn's going to be on a line with yet, but he's surely going to be excited to do so, whoever it's with, isn't he?
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? So, I was going to say, ask you, how much are you looking forward to playing with the likes of Bobby Chamberlain, for example? I mean, like the team that's being built at this moment in time is so strong and so good. It's just really, I can only imagine how exciting it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously, these guys from Hull, they're a bit older than me. But I remember we played when I first started when I was really young. We were all on the same under 10s team because obviously the first sort of age group was under 10s. And I saw a picture the other day, like a big team picture, and there's Lee Bonner there, Bobby, Deck, Towns, I think, and some other people as well from around Hull. So it was really cool seeing that, and then obviously to get to play together again this year will be pretty special, and obviously some really good players in the mix. Obviously playing with oh yeah, there you go. Playing with Emil last year as well. He's a big time player, so looking forward to getting back on the ice with him and various players. And yeah, I think obviously we've got a group. I've said it before, but we've got a group to do something special here in Hull, and I'm just really happy to be a part of it.
Got to excite you as well, Matty, of course. From Hull lad, and you've got this team full of Hull lads who are, wanting to go on and do something special, as Finn just said there. It is reminiscent of, some older Hull teams who've gone on to, do great things and, win trophies. And we don't want to put the pressure on them. We're not claiming we're going out, we're winning the trophies this year. But we've got a team who are certainly going to be that's where their eyes are on. Their eyes are on the prize. They're not here to be, fighting for scraps at the bottom of the league this year. And you know, the fans are going to be like this group, all behind this group like never before, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I think look, I've said it already before, but I think the people that were there last year, in terms of the players and the fans, they almost deserve this a little bit, more than anyone, because I think obviously putting the work in that they did last year, and being there, Finn being part of that as well. We went through some tough nights, really tough nights, and a lot of players in that room, and fans as well. They've never been in that situation before, because we've never had a team like that in Hull, not for a long time. Even the Stingrays days, we was never actually at the bottom of the league getting beat every night. We always had a competitive team, no matter what. It was alien to all of us. So honestly, there was times where I honestly didn't know what to say to some of it, because it was just like I'd never known anything like it. So yeah, look, I think now I'm not gonna lie, I've gone for it, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that I am, because everyone that I wanted, I've got. There is no one in there that I didn't want before. It's nothing's not, there was a couple of, during the talks and different stuff that went on this summer, there's been some hairy moments with players and different stuff that's gone on, but I've managed to get everyone I wanted. And the team is exactly what I wanted. So I've got no excuses and no, reservations about what I'm doing. I'm going for it, and there's no questions that I don't see as anywhere near the bottom of the league, if I'm being totally honest. But I've also said as well that the league is difficult. And by no means I'm saying we're going to win the league at all. We're going to be fighting like everyone else is. But look, with the team I've got, I think, the players I've got that I know very well. I know all them players really well. The only two I don't know is obviously the new imports. And from speaking to them both, I'm pretty confident on them too. We're going to have some special players, and they add to what we've got, completely, and they're going to make us a real threat. And look, I think like you've mentioned about the Hull lads, that just adds another element. Like you said about Solway, they're gonna, I think Solway are gonna really surprise some teams, but they're also going to have a surprise of how difficult this league is. They'll be confident. I think last year we had a lot of people saying how well we was going to do potentially, when we signed Temi and stuff like that, and people were like, oh, Hull are putting a decent team together. And look what happened. Obviously we could have never known about the imports not coming and all the injuries we had, but this league, I think it is. Every night's difficult, and they're going to find out that it's hard work, and they've got some really good players. They've signed really well, but look, this league is different. It's different, and it's going to take a lot of work from everyone in terms of on every team to sort of battle every night, because every night is difficult. But yeah, in terms of signing local lads, I know what that means to them, because I've done it, and it just does mean more to them. In them moments when stuff's getting hard, they just want to dig in just that little bit more, and it matters a little bit more when your mum and dad are watching, when your mates are in the stands, and you probably are thinking about it when you're playing the game. You're just thinking about what you're going to do on the ice and how well you're going to do next shift, or I should have scored, or I should have made that pass, whatever. But subconsciously, your mum and dad are watching you, and they've bought in. They're fully in as well. They're from Hull. They're local people as well. They've probably been watching, for a long time. I know Finn's mum and dad are no different. They've been around it for a long, long time. So they also care about it, which feeds into Finn. They just want their son to do as well as they can, and obviously they would support him anywhere. But honestly, I think it just does mean a little bit more to watch Finn pull a Hull shirt on at home, and I'm hoping it'll be a proud moment for him. And when that rink's packed and Martin's all excited up top, He'll there'll be I'm really excited. I think the first game's going to be a real event and an eye-opening one for probably everyone, just to sort of see, there'll be new shirts on and really, really excited about them. And it'll be a real event just to see sort of what we've done in such a short space of time and how excited everyone is and just the team that we've got. The lads train on a Thursday night, they'll be out there tonight, and even watching at the minute, I think it was a couple of weeks ago when we had everyone out there, and there was literally pretty much everyone there other than the imports and maybe a couple of other lads. And just we look good, like we do. We look really good, even at this stage. It's June at that point it was, and the lads are out there working hard already, and that's the difference. That's going to be the difference, and yeah, we're going to be a real team. So
no, we all can't wait, and Martin's already getting giddy. I think we're still 50. I think we're 59.
Yeah,
59 days, I think, from stepping onto the ice at the Hull Ice Arena.
I don't say that. That feels like real long. Can't wait. Can't wait. I can't believe how hooked to a sport I've got. It's ridiculous. Honestly.
You haven't, yeah.
I am a proper bought in. Fully bought in. 100%. Gone. Absolutely gone.
Absolutely gone. It's ace. I love it. Class.
So it's been absolutely fantastic so far, but we're going to move on now to sort of the Q&A, of course, whenever we get special guests on for you here at Behind the Curtain. We like to open it up so yourself, the listeners, can throw your questions. So Finn, there's been quite a number of people wanting to ask you a few here. So I'm going to start off with someone's asked, have you any personal targets for this year? Of course, the team one is to do as well as it possibly can on the ice, but have you got any personal goals?
I mean, I haven't set any numbers or anything like that. I think just developing, as well as Matty touched on, developing that scoring touch, being able to contribute every night and sort of give the team my full potential. Because I believe I've got a lot to give, and I just want to show that every night. So I guess that would be a personal goal of mine, just to be a factor in every game this year.
Another one that's come in. Who's the most technically gifted player you've played alongside?
Most technically gifted player I've played alongside, I would say the highest skill player I've played with must have been last year in Manchester. The Swedish guy called Jesper Orval. Really good guy, top guy, but his skill was just ridiculous. Unfortunately, he had some trouble with concussions and stuff last year, which sort of did definitely hurt our chances of winning more games. But he was ridiculous. So some of the stuff he'd do in training and this kind of thing was silly. I remember we went out on a like an off day, just like a skills session, and he was just like going around these cones and like receiving passes and then shooting and stuff like that. And the speed he was doing this thing out was like twice as fast as anybody else was doing it. But I would say, yeah, in recent times, probably him, yeah.
There was also a toughest player you've played with.
Toughest player I've played with, probably Gags. So Matthew Gagnon. Yeah, he was in my first year. It might be my first or my third year. I can't remember. But yeah, again, he's a scary guy to come up against on the ice. Definitely would not want to fight him. But then around the rink and everything, he's again a top guy. He always took me and the other young boys on the team out for food and that kind of thing, and made sure we were well looked after. So he was definitely the toughest guy there.
Another one that's come in. What were your favourite memories of watching hockey in Hull as a kid, and did you have any idols?
My favourite memories were obviously the games against Sheffield. I think I remember we'd turn up to a game and you'd see like the Sky Sports trucks outside, and you thought, "All right, this is a proper game now." So you could come watch that, and everyone's buzzing. As for idols, nobody really jumps to mind, to be honest. Obviously, I remember watching. I think it was Tendler He used to score about 5 goals a game, and then so obviously his name rings a bell.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would have watched Matty quite a bit, obviously, and when he was in his whole days. But yeah,
The boys.
the boys.
The name Jeremy Tendall still rings in my head because I'm still hearing Scooby,
Yeah.
Paul
Jeremy
Carruthers.
Tendler.
I'm still hearing Duck
Yeah.
Sauce, Barbara Streisand
Yeah.
in my head all the time.
Oh, he loves it, Scoob, doesn't he? Loves it.
Certainly does. Obviously, he's great to have on episode 3 of the pod. Next one is: do you have any superstitions and set game routines? And this one's actually from Scooby's brother. This is from Big Cole.
Right. There's no serious superstitions, but it's just a classic one, like tying your left skate before your right skate, putting everything on the left side before the right side. That doesn't mean that I'll go like left leg pad and left elbow pad. It just means obviously left then right on each thing. Superstitions. I mean, I like to get to the rink and stretch out, but I wouldn't say that's a superstition. It's sort of a preparation kind of thing. Anything with sticks? Not really. I mean, I just sort of I think if you jam yourself up with too much of that, you don't have time to think about what you've got to do on the ice. So, I mean, for me, it's pretty simple. It's just the left and right, and that's it.
Pretty easy
Another
going.
one. Yeah.
I was say pretty easy going. That, to be honest, you see some of the walk on backwards, last one off, and all that sort of thing.
Oh, there's all sorts. There's one in here now, Deck. He literally is in the gym just next to me. He's the weirdest kid out there, mate.
He's the weirdest kid.
He has to get off the ice last, and honestly,
we
there's
know
been
it.
times I've had to postpone my chat before the game just because he's still on there, waiting, fighting with the other team who's going to go off first.
Me and Martin know it. We time it from the gantry sometimes.
Obviously, Deck always wins that because no one's going to go up against Deck, are they? You know what I mean? He's staring at you across the way. You're probably getting off. So, yeah.
Yeah, Nafe's always pretty late off, and then Deck's there till lights out. Martin, you got the next one.
Yeah. How did it feel after you scored the overtime winner against the Bison? And what went through your mind when Towner passed you the puck?
Yeah, it was unreal actually. That moment, it was. I think it was the first overtime win I've scored, so it was a great feeling. And obviously, to be at home was even more special with the fans going nuts and stuff. But yeah, obviously, I started off. I think I had the puck behind our net, and saw Towns was sort of just creeping behind them on the far blue. So I threw it up to him, and then just beat my guy up the ice. And he gave me the puck and had the speed on the other defender and went around him and just thought, right, well, I'm gonna fake the short side and go around him, and luckily it went in. But no, it's a great feeling, definitely a great feeling.
Made a great run, didn't he? Made a great run.
Yeah, good line.
In the words of our favourite commentator, he got in the box, he tucked it away.
Always quality, that, honestly.
Next one is scoring a winner. So as we just described, scoring a winner or making a last-second defensive block to win a game. What feeling would you rather have?
Oh, it's got to be the goal, hasn't it?
Yeah.
If you're winning the game both times, I mean, it's nice to score the goal. Obviously, blocking shots is brilliant, but I'd rather be scoring, I think.
I'd have said that, and I can't even skate.
Someone's asked, how much would they have to pay you to stand in front of Emil's slap shot? You can have goalie gear.
I can have goalie gear.
You can have gear, yeah. You can have goalie gear.
Don't know. Money wouldn't be enough.
No,
definitely not.
I was just going to say that. Money's pointless.
He's got far too much power.
Yeah.
No chance.
Another one that's coming then. If there was a rule you could add to the ice hockey, what would it be?
A rule?
Your own rule, anything.
This is where they start to get a bit silly now, but these words also get a bit amusing.
Oh, God, I don't know. I'm going to have to think about this.
Your own rule.
Matt, have you got one? Have you ever thought of one you'd want to add?
Uh,
Serious or non-serious?
you're on roll. I don't know, to be fair. That's a real tough one, isn't it? I would say, I was going to say something like fly keeper, but what's the point?
You can
It's
just pull
rubbish.
them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one, isn't it? That is tough.
I think that we could do a full episode on these. We could each
Yeah, you could.
have a week to think about it and present our ideas.
Yeah.
There's a bonus episode of the podcast right there.
Yeah.
Whoever sent that one, I can't quite remember. Good one. You stumped everyone.
Yeah.
Next one. If you had to be stranded on a desert island with another Seahawks player, who would it be and why?
With another Seahawks player. I mean, it'd probably be Emil just because he's funny. He'd make you laugh all the time.
Yeah.
The only problem is he's quite a bit bigger than me, so he might eat all the food and stuff. But he's in terms of company, he's a funny guy, so he'd be good to be around.
Matty, I'll throw that one to you as well. You got to pick one of the lads stuck in a desert island with.
If you was gonna take him, you'd have to have plenty of beers with you because he'd do your head in if you didn't have beer with him. And if you didn't have a phone as well, and you want sending gifts out, he'd struggle, wouldn't he? Who would I take? Probably would take Deck Barmer solely because I don't think he'd talk to me, and I probably wouldn't talk to him. So it'd be great because like both of us that we're like, you know what I mean. You don't have to do that small talk. I know he'd be there, I'd be over there, and if we had to say something, we'd say something. But other than that, there wouldn't be no like, you know what I mean. He cracks on and I'll crack on and
Build your shelters and.
But if you had to fight to the death, he's beating me. So I don't know if that'd be a good idea. But yeah, I'd probably say him, maybe. I wouldn't take Bobby. Bobby Chamberlain would be the worst person to be on a desert island with ever. He's pointless. He offer nothing to you. So
if Deck was swimming in the sea and you're on that desert island as well, if you're both in there, do you reckon he'd wait in the sea till you got out first?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's one of them. Yeah, definitely.
And final one, Finn, someone's asked for you. Favorite takeaway?
Favorite takeaway? I think Indian.
Ooh,
I love curry. Love a curry.
Yeah, banging.
I think we're all agreed on we love an Indian, but there's no room for chip spice there, so it's
No,
you've got to find that somewhere. I think it's been mentioned on every episode so far, so I just have to get it in right.
You have to
take your own.
That in. Yeah,
take your own.
We go hopefully some on this desert island for that. Hopefully so. But that's about all we've got time for here on Behind the Curtain. It's been another fantastic episode here with episode 8 of the podcast with Finlay Ulrick. We've got to say thanks to Finn. You've been absolutely magnificent having you on. Great chat.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on. Sure, I'll obviously be speaking to you all a lot more as the season goes on, and looking forward to seeing you all in Hull and getting things going. Yeah, just buzzing.
Certainly, sir. And of course, we hope to have you on the pod at one point during the season again too. Matty, thanks once as always. It's been another good one, this one.
Yeah, it's been great chat. Finn's good value. I knew he would be. So yeah, and he's on holiday as well, so he's doing us a massive favour for doing it as well. So great lad. Yeah, no, great stuff. We've obviously this is building every week now, and Martin's favourite day of the week. It's all of ours, to be fair. We're having a great time with it, so it's good. We'll have another good one next week as well. Yeah, just thanks for listening, everyone. Hopefully you enjoy it.
Got to say, Finn's on holiday. He's not brought the palm trees like you did there.
No, yeah, these were real, man, of fake. That's why we're inside.
Got to say, thanks, my co-host Martin Cattle. Pleasure as always.
No, it's been buzzing. It's been a bit of a weird one in the sense that we're both on camera It's
I know.
a bit of a daunting one. Normally, it's just our mugshot on it, innit? But no, it's been a real good vibe. I've loved it as always. Can't wait for next week.
No, certainly, sir. Of course, we'll make sure we have episode 9 ready for you next week. But we're just going to say thanks for listening to episode 8 with Finlay Ulrick and Matty Davis Behind the Curtain. Make sure you like, follow, share, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. And make sure you tune in next week to Hull Seahawks Behind the Curtain.